What's up guys, it's Griffin and welcome back to my channel. For today's video, I'm going to be doing another unsolved crime, another true crime case, and I'm very excited because I'm actually going to be doing 7 days straight of this. So from January 1st to January 7th, I will have 7 brand new videos. Oh, and something else about these cases is they all happened within the last year. So I'm very excited, and without further ado, let's get into Kierra Cole's case. Kierra Cole's is described as bossy and caring for her family. She was actually really close to them, and she worked on Chicago's South Side as a postal worker. She was about 3 months pregnant when she disappeared. She went missing October 2nd of 2018, and her mother reported her missing 2 days later when she had no contact with her for those entire 2 days. She definitely knew something was wrong as soon as she couldn't reach Kierra, and all of her calls were going to voicemail. They spoke pretty much every single day, so it was really unlike her to not answer her mom's calls or not text her at least and let her know that she'll call her back at a different time. Literally every single person in her life said she seemed so happy in the days leading up to her disappearance. She had just moved into a new apartment, she got a new car, and she was pregnant with her first child. Karen Phillips, her mother, said that her life was really coming together around this time. Her family as well as investigators definitely suspect foul play, but don't really know much of what's going on with this case. So let's get into some details, or as many details as we can. After her mother reported her missing, police started searching right away. What they discovered is the day before she went missing, that night, she was at her friend Nikita's house. She was extremely excited because she felt her baby's heartbeat for the first time, and she wanted to go show her best friend and have her feel it too, because it was such an exciting moment for her and she couldn't believe it. It was just her first child, she was so excited, and she didn't really know what to expect, and she wanted her best friend to be there with her. So she stopped by for a bit, but she had to leave around 5 or 6 p.m. for an appointment at the WIC, which is a Woman, Infant, and Children Center. So as far as this appointment goes, there's very little information on it. Some people say that she was with family members, some people say she was with a friend, and others say that she was by herself. And it's also not entirely clear if she even went to the appointment at all. But nonetheless, her car ended up home that night, so it is assumed that she made it home. And after that, there's no known contact with her. Upon arrival at her apartment, the police noticed that her neighbors had a few cameras and wanted to check them out, see if there was any footage of Kierra leaving her apartment, getting in or out of her car, or if there was anything suspicious on the footage. Luckily, one of the cameras actually caught Kierra, or so they thought. Now it's believed that it's not Kierra, but at the time they thought it was her passing her car and then crossing the street. In this footage, this person was dressed as a postal worker, which obviously Kierra was, but it's also said that there are a ton of postal workers living on that street matching her description. However, her mother did say that she called in sick the night before, so it wouldn't make much sense for Kierra to be dressed in her outfit. Generally, with her job, you had to call in sick the night before, you couldn't call in sick the day of, so that's why her mother thinks she called in sick the night before. However, a lot of other people believe that she called in sick day of, and then she ended up disappearing. Some people find it strange that the family member initially identified the girl in the video as Kierra, but I honestly think it was just parents looking for answers early on in the case and trying to pin anything they could to Kierra so they could figure out where she was. But eventually they retracted their statements and said that it wasn't Kierra in the video. Now that we know it wasn't Kierra on those tapes, her disappearance could actually be at any given point, possibly the night before, the morning of, or even in one of the following 2 days. October 2nd was the last time that anyone heard from her. However, there were 2 days after her disappearance that no one heard from her, and her mother didn't report her missing yet. So we never really know what happened. So her car remained locked outside of her apartment, parked on her street. Inside her car was her phone, her lunch, and her purse, which I find extremely strange. Her lunch was clearly prepared for the next day of work, so we think that she was there October 2nd and possibly put it in her car, but then again, why is there no footage of this from the neighbor? Her phone and her purse are two things, even if they were hidden, even if I was in the nicest area, I would never leave them in my car, so I don't know why she would in Chicago's South Side. Not that it's a terrible area, but like I'm saying, in the safest area, I just wouldn't even do that. Her apartment was also locked, and her inhaler was left inside, which her mother said she often took with her because she had bad asthma. When her mother and her sister eventually got to her car, they opened it and initially didn't see her phone and her purse because it was underneath her jacket, but then when they lifted it up, they were immediately concerned because it was suspicious for her to be leaving those items in her car. Andrew Holmes is a local activist who organized the search for Kierra Coles. He commented that her mother was definitely aware of the search efforts and was still keeping a positive mindset. However, she did not attend any of the searches. I have absolutely no idea what mental condition her mother was in after her pregnant daughter went missing. I just can't even imagine being in that mind frame. Nonetheless, I think she felt her time was better spent elsewhere, as she spent her time time passing out flyers. She was doing it every single day of the week with Kierra's father as well. There's actually a ton of video footage of the two of them as well as Kierra's sister passing out a ton of flyers on 81st and Vernon, the place that they believe Kierra was last seen. As far as the search goes, there were a lot of volunteers as well as postal workers volunteering, people that didn't even know her but knew they wanted to put their time and effort towards that search. I just happen to find it slightly noteworthy that no one in her family ended up joining the search. I would think that they would pass out flyers on one day and then maybe the next day they would go and join the search. But every single day for a week they were passing out flyers, which is doing something, but I'm just surprised that they didn't split their time or something along those lines. Volunteers found multiple bones while searching for Kierra, which is definitely a scary thing to come across, but after a lot of research it's believed that these are the bones of tiny animals. They found these bones in a wooded area along Whistler Woods Forest Reserve in Chicago's South Side in Riverdale. In my mind, I think that these bones are definitely ruled out as evidence because they're clearly stated to be believed as animal bones, so I don't believe them to be her bones whatsoever. But the reason that they searched this area is because there were a ton of tips from local people. They won't release any details of what those tips were. All we know is that there were quite a few tips leading them to that area. The methods used to search for her were by foot as well as canine units, but unfortunately nothing came of this. Her sister, in addition to passing out those flyers, called her boyfriend of 5 years, Joshua Simmons, and that led to nothing as well. He actually ended up not talking to the family much after her disappearance, and he only spoke to the police once after she disappeared, and after that cut contact and stopped being cooperative, which I find extremely strange. I'm assuming the way they met was at work because he was also a postal worker. Okay, so unfortunately that is all the information I have on Kierra Coles. If I missed out on any information or you guys know something that I don't, or I forgot to include something, make sure to comment it down below, and I want you guys to definitely check out the comments before you listen to my theories, because if I did miss any information, I will pin it to the top of the comments so you guys can see it, and I will of course research and make sure that it's true before I pin it, but I just want to make sure that I have all the information out there, and as far as I know, this is it. So let's get into the theories. Theory number 1. Unfortunately, it's not the first time a pregnant person has gone missing or been killed. Usually it's the boyfriend or someone in their life that doesn't want this child to be around, so they end up killing or getting rid of the mother. In this case, some people believe her boyfriend Joshua Simmons is the killer and he had something to do with her disappearance. It's also been said, in addition to him not having contact with the family after she disappeared and him having very little contact with the police after she disappeared, that he eventually moved away to a different state with his new wife. However, on his Facebook page, it says that he still lives in Chicago, so I'm not entirely sure of this information. Her family believes that he doesn't have anything to do with it. However, they do think that he was acting slightly suspicious afterwards. And obviously, despite them saying that they don't think he had anything to do with it, the police still looked into him, and they understood because they want every angle to be looked at. Theory number 2 is that she ran off on her own, and this is actually a very popular theory. I personally don't believe this one bit, and neither does her family or investigators. They all think that there is foul play involved somehow. Like I said, her mother was saying that her life was in an amazing place before she disappeared, and she had absolutely no reason to leave her life behind. And she also left all of her belongings, like her inhaler, her phone, her purse, her food, everything, her clothes, all of that stuff, she left it behind, which she wouldn't do if she were trying to start over. She would take that stuff and go live somewhere else, run away with a few items at least. The third theory is that she was abducted, and this is the most popular theory. I personally can't get over the fact that her lunch was in her car. I don't imagine anyone would put their lunch in their car the night before they go to work, so let's say she brought it out there that morning. There has been no confirmation whether or not she called in herself sick to work, so we don't really know if she actually did it herself or if her abductor did it, because there's a privacy policy at the place that she works. Either way, if she took her lunch to her car, her intention was clearly to go to work. Someone must have abducted her either as she was putting her stuff in her car, or maybe she ran back inside because she forgot something and came back out and they abducted her on her way out. Although Chicago is a beautiful and vibrant city, it does have a very high crime rate, and we don't know what could have happened here. And what confuses me the most about this theory is that if she did put her stuff in the car that morning, then why is there no footage of that? I really don't understand. Her car is clearly seen in the footage of who we thought was Kierra initially walking past her car, so why can't we see her that morning putting stuff in her car and possibly see what happened? I also think that we should look into people who lived near her, like her neighbor who severely edited the footage of her, because we clearly don't have any footage of her getting in her car that morning. Kierra Coles is described to be 5'4", 125 pounds, pounds, brown eyes, brown hair, and a medium brown complexion. She has a tattoo of a heart on her right hand and one on her back that says Lucky Libra. As of today, December 26th of 2018, there is not any additional information on the internet that I personally can find, and if there are any updates before this video goes live, I will be sure to put them in here, as many as I can. However, I'm not entirely sure that will be the case. I really just want to push this case out here because I definitely think that there's information. Someone knows something. Someone saw something. There's just no way that this case is going unsolved. I feel like it's going to be solved very soon, and a lot of cases that I'm going to be covering this next week are all cases that could potentially be solved very soon, considering it hasn't even been a year since they happened. So I definitely still have hope for this case, and I want the message to be spread far and wide. So definitely share this video with your friends, family members, and anyone you know living in Chicago, or anyone you know that possibly knows Kierra Coles or her family, or any way to get this video shared out there as much as possible. Definitely partake in that. So the U.S. Inspection Postal Service is actually offering a reward of $28,500 for anyone who has information that could lead them to Kierra Coles. If you have any information, you can call the Chicago Area South Special Victims Unit at 312-747-8274, or the U.S. Postal Inspection Service at 877-876-2455. And as I'm reading those numbers, obviously I will have them on the screen so you guys can check them out. But my goal with these videos is to bring these people home. I want Kierra Coles home. I want her with her family, and I'm not entirely sure what happened. I personally don't even know what theory to believe as the strongest theory, but if you guys have any additional theories or any additional information, make sure to leave that down below, and hopefully I will see you guys in tomorrow's video. I love you guys so much, and I look forward to seeing you the rest of this week. Bye.